to the wall, it's ready.
I didn't know this. So what I thought was, this is really what I thought, because I've used that phrase a ton. People say, hey, tell us about podcasting. Well, I'm big on throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah. But in my mind, it's just what spaghetti randomly sticks. Like no.
We'll throw a lot of spaghetti. Some of it'll stick and we'll go, oh, look at that spaghetti. It's stuck.
Yeah. I just always felt like, if you got you got the right spoon, you take a piece out, just try it. You don't have to throw it at your wall.
What you're saying is there's a preparation aspect to that scenario that's important. It's like, if it's going to stick, you've done your homework, you've worked hard on what needs to happen before you throw it. The throwing it is actually the fruition of all the work you put into it. My use of it is, let's just see what works. Whee! And just throw stuff on the wall.
Well, if it sticks, it's good. Right?
That's still the same idea.
Yeah.
You're saying I throw spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks. And if it does, well, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
maybe it means I push ahead.
That may or may not be good, but yeah, but at least it's stuck.
I think that's more me. I think I'm the spaghetti guy and not the al dente guy.
Well, it's all spaghetti.
Well, I mean, I could use a little more like the part of that scenario that I miss, which is execute with, I don't know. Some people are always ready, aim, ready.
You're not worried if it's al dente or not. You just want to eat some spaghetti.
I just want spaghetti. Yes.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But you don't want mushy spaghetti.
No,
but you don't overcook it.
But sometimes I'll throw stuff in a microwave that doesn't belong there. Like it's just, people, if you're going to make ramen, probably should do it on the stove, even if it's the store-bought stuff, because it's going to be better. But I don't think of that.
You just want it to be warm.
Ramen is magical.
I hear you. Yeah. I hear you.
Oh,
I do.
I actually ramen is bad for you.
Ramen is bad. What?
Hold on. Hey,
what?
No, hold on. Let's not start new topics at 1:30. We got a show to do here.
Let's destroy our dreams all at
once. Scott, would you like to read line 3 for us today?
I would be not only glad to, but happy to. Let's do it.
Wow. All right. Well, throw it against the wall.
See what sticks.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I will count you in from 5. Are you ready? Is everyone ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks to everyone who supports independent tech news directly. If you're not already, become a DTNS member. That's DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, December 5th, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from I Can't Get My Letters Right, I'm Scott Johnson.
And I'm Roger Chang.
He's the show's producer.
I'm the show's producer in a very overcast corner of LA County.
There you go.
Man, I know we have nothing to complain about, but it is chilly around these parts.
Relatively speaking.
I know, which is why I said I know it's colder in lots of other places, but
no one else outside of LA County is going to give us any sympathy. But we can give each other some.
It's 28 degrees here, so I don't feel.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to shut up.
That's very chilly.
We are going to talk about the state of self-driving cars in a little bit, but let's start with a few other tech things you should know.
Microsoft launched a new version of Outlook for iOS focused on design improvements, such as the calendar icon, which now animates when you're moving backwards or forwards. Swiping an email now includes haptic feedback, and the blue color is now being included, which was used in Outlook on other platforms. There are other favorite folders for mail management and avatars in the inbox, and an inline view of your calendar before you press accept or decline on an invite.
Well, ride-hailing company Didi Chang announced a reorganization aimed to improve safety after 2 riders were murdered. 2 new positions have been created: a chief information security officer reporting to chief technology officer Bob Zhang, and the chief safety officer reporting to chief executive Chang Wei. It is also been announced it will consolidate some ride-hailing divisions into a single business. That being a single business unit, in order to improve compliance and service standards.
Amazon Prime will launch its Prime Video app on Comcast's X1 set-top box this week. Users will be able to use the X1's voice-enabled remote to launch and navigate the Prime Video app. The service will require an Amazon Prime subscription, of course. Matt Strauss, VP of Xfinity Services for Comcast Cable, said, "We are very comfortable with our business relationship with Amazon. The value of Amazon Prime Video is providing access to its award-winning series, kids programming, and movies integrated into the X1 guide."
Does anybody here have the X1 set-top box?
Nope.
I'm not a Comcast subscriber, so
No.
I used to.
yeah.
I have their internet and that's it. But
It was
Yeah,
actually
Netflix
pretty.
on that box already.
right.
It was a nice box comparatively of
Yeah.
all the other Comcast stuff.
I mean, the idea here would be people who don't already have a way to watch this. They don't have an Apple TV, they don't have a Roku or whatever. This is now their way to get Amazon Prime on TV and a very easy, just click and point and let's go. I think that's probably who this is aimed at. The rest of us already have it on some other box, but good for them.
They don't want people to cancel Comcast because they want to watch Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Well, there's that too.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the big Facebook dump. Scott?
Well, UK MP Damian Collins released 250 pages of internal Facebook documents that show how the company makes decisions about handling user data. I almost said loser data. That would have been a real dumb thing to say.
Well, Freudian slip.
Companies
Not
like
mutually exclusive.
No, not exactly. Companies like Netflix and Airbnb were whitelisted in order to access friend data after they would have otherwise been restricted by new policies implemented in 2014. It also shows Facebook shutting down access for Twitter-owned app Vine. Vine no longer runs, but that's not really the point. The documents were gathered as part of a court case against Facebook in the U.S. and were made available to the U.K. as part of its investigation into the proliferation of false news on Facebook. Facebook said the documents are misleading.
Yeah, it seems like the hot take on this is Facebook uses access to user data as a reward and or punishment, like giving Netflix and Airbnb some perks because they were good partners, and going against competitor Twitter by shutting down Vine's access. I'm not. I feel like it's really hard to make this argument because Facebook does a lot of things that I don't like, but I don't feel like Facebook is getting a fair shake in that a lot of what they do is standard practice from other companies. They just happen to be under the gun.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I mean, there probably are a lot of companies going, "Whew, glad we're not in this inquiry."
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you're probably right, but that's why I think this sort of stuff is kind of good, because when this stuff comes to light, I don't want it all regulated necessarily, but I think it's good for companies to be reminded that maybe they don't want to do what might be perceived as anti-competitive practices.
Although this is not the entire story. Like, how prevalent was this? Were there other factors? I mean, maybe Facebook is right that this is misleading, and we have a UK MP taking it upon themselves to leak this to the world out of context.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. I just whatever. Europe obviously behaves a little differently than we do in these cases. So what they say may not affect us. What we do may not affect them. But having them under the spotlight and saying some of what this is a little anti-competitive, I don't think really hurts anybody. Whether they can come to that conclusion or if it hurts Facebook or not, those are big questions. But, I like stuff out in the open where it can breathe and get light and we can all see it. I like transparency, Tom.
Transparency, if it's transparent for everything, right? And you're not just being shown a corner in order to make you come to a conclusion that wouldn't be validated by the data you're not seeing, right? I think that's the danger here. On the other hand, BuzzFeed did an article today saying that the Facebook employees seem to be in three camps. One is we're loyal to Zuckerberg for whatever reason. Another is we're loyal to Facebook, but yeah, we probably need a change. Or I'm going to get out of here. And a camp that just thinks that the media is attacking Facebook relentlessly to the point where it's going to hurt the company.
Well, and in that third camp, I saw a lot of articles today that were like, Mark Zuckerberg personally said that no, Vine should not be on the Facebook platform anymore. And I thought that was the least interesting of all of these details. It's like, that's just sort of normal competition stuff.
Well,
Facebook
someone had to say it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it wasn't Zuckerberg, it was going to be some other employee.
Right. Isn't it weirder if he doesn't sign off on that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Russian search giant Yandex launched its smartphone, its first smartphone, a 5.65-inch Android-powered phone that will cost 17,990 rubles, which is about $270 going on sale tomorrow. The Yandex phone has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 630 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of expandable storage, and a 16 megapixel / 5 megapixel dual rear camera. Yandex has its own Google Assistant competitor named Alice, which we've talked about in the show before, and will also be baked in to this phone. Not surprisingly, the Yandex phone goes on sale tomorrow, December 6th, through the Yandex store, with other stores rolling out in the future.
Yandex is only big in Russia, but it's very big in Russia.
Yes.
And when you think about, Google putting out the Pixel, it sort of makes sense for a predominant search engine in a market to try to double down on that by getting more users. I mean, that's Google's model is we put out Android because that way more people are using the internet and likely using Google, which means that we can sell more ads on Google. I'm sure Yandex has the same calculation behind putting this phone out as well.
I couldn't find it anywhere, but I assume the version of Android it's running as a fork of some kind and not necessarily tied to regular updates, or do we know? I guess there's no reason why it couldn't be.
Yeah. I think it's good old fashioned Android. Yeah.
All right, well, that's good. And I love the idea of a big. I like search engine competition. Let's put it that way. I wish there was more of it. We all just rely on Google all the time. In a weird way, they are too, even though they're a search engine company, but they're using Google for their phone. But I like the idea of that. It's not just Google everywhere, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, that just makes me feel like the world's better off having more competition in that space. So.
Yeah, I just double checked, and this Yandex phone does come bundled with the Google apps, just like any other distribution of Android.
Nice.
Well, and for $270 or the equivalent near that, that's an affordable phone. Sure, it's a feature phone. It's not, the top of the line phone. But if you are already in the Yandex universe, which is a lot of people call it the Google of Russia, right? I mean, it's a huge company, as you mentioned, Tom.
I call Google the Yandex of the US, but sure.
Sure. Yeah, half dozen. But yeah, I mean, if this is something that, especially if you use Alice, which is Yandex's Google Assistant, and by the way, I've never used it, but I'd love to know how good it is. If you want to compare it to the two, then this is a really affordable phone.
Yeah, I would. Here's my request. Since you got Alice, you got your Yandex phone. That's all great, Russia. Good job. Well done. I want a Russian accented assistant. I want Siri in that voice. I want my Echo in that voice. There's something about this isn't weird, I promise, but I love a female Russian accent. That would really help me get my day going. If somebody just got on there and said, or I go, hey, yo, whatever your name is. How cold is it today? It's at 30 degrees, like in a really cool accent. Oh,
but a female. That's okay. At least you know what you like. I think we all probably have our, the assistant voices that we secretly would love to have.
25.
Yeah.
Tom knows
real. Have you watched 90 Day Fiance, Scott? So you'll get a lot of
that.
I'm all for it. Bring it over.
The UK's BT, British Telecom, said Wednesday it will remove Huawei networking equipment from the core of its 3G and 4G mobile operations and will not use the company's hardware in 5G infrastructure. This may be less than it seems, though. BT said Huawei equipment had not been used in its fixed line networks, and it was removing the equipment from networks it acquired when it bought the mobile operator EE back in 2016. They want to bring it in line with the rest of the business. This is just the core network. BT said Huawei remains an important equipment provider outside the core network. And Huawei even said, hey, we know BT has always used different vendors in different network layers as a matter of policy, and we understand and fully support the move to remove our equipment from their core networks on mobile. So I know a lot of people are picking this up thinking, aha, we see that BT is turning against Huawei as well. I'm not sure that's what this means, since they're leaving the equipment in other parts of the network. It seems like they just have a policy to say, we don't want the same vendor across several layers for various reasons.
Doesn't that, it just sounds like I don't put all your eggs in one basket thing.
Right.
Seems like smart business to me. I mean, actually, the only part that makes me suspicious, ironically, is the final statement that Yahweh is cool with this. That seems like a weird thing.
But sure, yeah. Roger might answer if you say it the other way.
Huawei. That's how I'm gonna say it from now on. But those guys, saying, no, we get it. They do this all the time, and we're, everyone's fine here. That part makes me suspicious, and I don't know why. Maybe I'm just weirdly suspicious.
You're being suspicious because if in fact this is normal policy, then Huawei saying, hey, it's normal policy, we're fine with it, is exactly what they would say. Anything else they would say, you would also find suspicious.
Yeah.
So if you're not leaving them anything they can say that isn't suspicious, I think maybe you're just being suspicious.
No, you're totally right. It just seems like a weird thing to get all on board with. We totally support this idea. I think it's awesome.
It's a little over the top to say we fully support it. You're right. But they didn't have to put it quite that strongly, I suppose.
Yeah. But don't put all those eggs in one basket. This is a good lesson across the board. I don't care what you're doing. It's a good idea. I used to work for a company that had big IT issues, and part of the policy there was the same. It was, don't get bogged down with one vendor. Don't have too many Dells on desktops. Don't have the same server blades in the entire server farm, because all we're doing is asking for weird problems. When we get a weird redundancy happening, there's not going to be much to do. If you've got other stuff, then you can lay on those other things and not get so screwed up. So that's all this seems like to me.
Don't put all your 100-year eggs in one basket.
No. Qualcomm announced its new flagship 855 mobile platform chip. It features a new multi-core AI engine with 3 times the performance of the previous chip, specialized silicone and for enhanced computational photography and video capture, and support for multi-gigabit 5G. Again, 5G, whatever that means. The company also announced the 3D sonic sensor, a fingerprint scanner that uses an ultrasonic scanner that can sit underneath the display. The sensor uses sonic waves to see the ridges and details of fingers. Ew, even through grime, dust, oil, and water on a screen. Gross.
Why is that gross?
It's not.
I mean, isn't the idea of a fingerprint already that
yeah, no, that's all they're saying. Yeah, all they're saying is we use sound to be able to detect the fingerprint on the glass, which has been difficult. It's been difficult to do a fingerprint reader in the glass before, partly because of smudging and all the things that make up a fingerprint. So they're saying, hey, all that dust, oil, and water that is usually there with the fingerprint, our sonic technology can see right through that. So we don't have any problem.
That makes sense. Because what's this? I already forgotten what this is called on an iPhone 8. The freaking
Touch ID.
The Touch ID. Thank you. That's still in fact, I just did it with a little water on my finger from my water bottle, and it won't work. So this would be a way of seeing through that. And that's
and also in a screen, right? In the screen where it's one thing to have a button that you touch with the same finger all the time. It's another thing with the screen where you're swiping and smudging and smushing things around as well. The big thing is that this is in the display. It's not just Touch ID type technology. It's actually in the display, which, remember, Apple famously considered and then rejected. Qualcomm, in a dispute with Apple right now, kind of rubbing it in their face to say, like, hey, we figured out how to put it in display. I mean, if you want to buy it from us, you could. You just got to play nice from now on.
Think they ever would? I mean, they're so invested in Face ID now. It feels like that would be a...
Yeah, I don't know that Apple wants to go back to fingerprint authentication. It feels like they really are saying, no, it's all Face ID from here on out.
Yeah.
Well, I hate Face ID. So Apple, you're...
Wait a minute. Later, here in a bit, we're going to talk more about phones and stuff. And I want to hear why you hate Face ID so much. So we'll get there.
Oh, I've got my reasons. But you know, it's funny. Before we move on, you said jokingly, Scott, like, multi-gigabit 5G. What's that even mean? But yeah, I mean, we're definitely still at the precipice of, okay, well, these chips are going to be in phones pretty soon. They're going to be rolling out in 2019, but we're still figuring out what it all means, because there is a lot of jargon still being thrown out as far as what's the
multi-gigabit 5G is not a very controversial term. It just means 5G service that's above a gigabit. This chip can handle it. So when that service rolls out, which it will, we have the hardware to put in your phone to take advantage of that service. I'm not sure there's anything controversial going on.
All I meant,
I didn't say it was controversial. I just said that, you get a little eye rolling, sort of like, oh yeah, this whole 5G thing. Where is it? Well, it's happening. It's happening.
What I mean by that, I think it's more pointed at me. I don't find it the term 5G controversial. I find it continually funny that even since the 3G days, everybody names everything 3G, 4G, 5G before it's out, when it's out, later on. Like, what the hell even is it?
This is an example of using it properly. The 5G spec has been signed off. It's actually in operation in a few places like Korea. People are making equipment for it, and this is an example of that equipment. It's that thing we talked about on TMS this morning, where you are so used to being fooled that when the truth is put in front of you, you don't believe it because you're like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the crying wolf kid thing deal, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's something that is real. Apple released iOS 12.1.1 for iOS today, including improvements to FaceTime, where users can more easily switch between the front-facing and the rear-facing cameras during calls, plus haptic touch support for the iPhone XR. Also, tvOS 12.1.1, macOS Mojave 10.14.2, and HomePod 12.1.1 also pushed out today, and Apple is preparing for its HomePod release in China.
Very nice. I got that update.
What do you got to say about that, Scott Johnson?
All right, here's what I'm going to say real quick, because I know we don't have a ton of time because I burned too much talking about 5G. But here's the thing. I picked up an iPhone XR. Okay, got it right here. Got the product red one because I think that's a cool color. I bought this because I was very torn, thinking, well, do I want top of the line OLED, freaking full blown, XS Max and all that? And I decided against that and went this way because of two major factors. One, it's a lot cheaper. And it's also, there's not a whole lot that's different about it. The screen's obviously different. It doesn't have the exact same body, but the guts of this thing, the chip that's in there, the camera, all this stuff matches up well with the mainline 10 series. And I'm very, very happy with it. The part that surprised me the most was that I have had very little experience with Face ID until now, and it works for me every time. So I know we don't have a ton of time, but I would love at some point, either today or someday, to hear why you hate FaceTime or Face ID so much.
I'll tell you, it's not because I don't think the technology works, as long as the phone's right here. But how many times is your phone on your desk? You're kind of doing other stuff. You can see what's going on the phone, and you have to open up something that, there's some security measures, and it's Face ID. And then you're like, and by the time you get up here, the phone has said, no, just enter your passcode. I enter my passcode 100 times a day, whereas with Touch ID, I entered it 0 times.
You could just swipe back up again after you picked it up.
But that's not the solution either. It just means I have to start over.
Also, you're using it wrong. You shouldn't be paying attention to your phone when it's on the desk, Sarah. That's bad screen time management.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm looking at it from a real weird angle. It's right over here, and I'm going, okay, what do we got? Unlocked. It's working for me every time. I wonder if something's up. I think you're just too fabulous for that.
Scott thinks it's your face.
You guys know what I'm talking about. It is annoying. And anybody who tells me it's not is, I don't know, they have like a cooler neck than I do or something.
My brother-in-law said the exact same thing when he was reviewing the Face ID when it first came out. He's like, I find that really annoying. It's a cilantro. It's way annoying for some people, and other people, it doesn't bother at all.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good. Yeah, there's your comparison. It does remind me of that because I'm having zero problem. I know people who don't, and I know people like Sarah who are like, I hate this.
I hate it. Yeah. Give me my button back. I would take it any day. I'd pay for it even.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, folks, if you would like to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com and keep up on things, whether your phone is unlocked easily or not. It'll be right there for you to listen to. All right. Oh, I'll play that. Waymo launched its commercial autonomous vehicle taxi service Waymo 1 in the Phoenix, Arizona area on Wednesday, actually in Chandler, the suburb of Phoenix, and it'll be rolling out to a few more suburbs. It will be available by invite to some of the 400 or more participants in the early rider test program. Now, if you're like me, you immediately went, so wait a minute, this is just rebranding the early rider program? Like, I had to sign up to get in the early rider program, and now I'm in a different one called Waymo 1. The difference is you were under NDA in the early rider program. You couldn't share pictures. You couldn't talk about your experiences with certain restrictions. Waymo 1 will be a public thing. Even though it's invite only, you can tell everybody about it. You can take pictures. There's no NDA there. You don't have to keep it confidential. All Waymo cars will have safety drivers on board as well. This will not be a driverless service. It will have a human on board when you get picked up. Now, we saw a story from Reuters about all of the self-driving services happening in the United States, because there's a bunch of them. There's one from Nutonomy out in Boston. Of course, there's Uber's, which is kind of on pause right now. GM's Cruise is targeting 2019. Ford is targeting 2021. There's several other smaller ones in operation as well. But that's just in the United States. There's also a bunch of them around the world. Nutonomy has one in Singapore. There's several in China. There's actually one in the Netherlands called Amber, which I found really interesting. At the beginning of the year, KPMG International ranked the Netherlands as the country most ready to support driverless cars. The US was number 3 behind Singapore, number 2. If you haven't heard much about the self-driving scene in the Netherlands, it's maybe because it's a little different. A lot of the talk about Amber focused on the fact that it uses self-driving only at night to reposition the cars so that they're available for human drivers. It's like a car share service that you drive it yourself, but to make sure the cars are where you need them, they self-drive to the right place based on an algorithm at night, which I thought was an interesting take on this. But Amber had been thought to be the best bet for a commercial service to launch first this year, but it looks like Waymo One may have beat them to the punch with this, depending on how you define it, since it is closed. It is invite only. It's not available to the wider public. I couldn't find anything about Amber launching anything to the wider public right now. So the question being, with all of this news about self-driving cars, where we have many, many services, there's one in Ohio that's launching this week as a limited service on bus routes. There's a lot of them that are limited to certain geographical areas like shopping centers or college campuses. They're in multiple climates. They exist in warm weather and cold weather, but they're not quite driverless. None of them seem to have launched without anybody on board, at least somebody to just kind of monitor what's going on. That said, Scott, I know you're anxious to be able to climb into a car that has nobody else in it.
I'm really excited about it. Some people are nervous about it. I couldn't be more opposite. I'm so stoked to have my first experience where I walk into one of those weird looking van shaped things, because that's usually what they look like. They're all, rarely do they look like a passenger car. And I just get in there and sit down and there's nobody there. And it just takes me where I want to go. And I can look at my phone and think to myself and not worry about if the driver's looking at me or what dumb music he's playing, whatever it is, and just go to where I need to go. But weirdly, I'm also excited about learning what some of the problems are going to be. And I don't mean I want to learn about a 5-car pileup on the freeway. I don't mean that. But I mean, like, I don't know, if we do get into a fender bender, do I get out of the car and talk to the guy? And like, how is it handled? Like, there's a lot of questions. And I'm excited about those questions because that means progress. It means we're moving forward with this. And this is the future as far as I'm concerned. And I'm ready. I'll sign up now. Like, I'm ready to go. So hurry up, get your groove on, make it happen in these cities, these test cities, and expand already, because I'm ready for you. And I'm ready to sell my car and do this.
I know the driverless car revolution is happening. It depends on where you live, whether it will happen sooner than later, but it's happening. But I do like the Netherlands' take on this whole thing is, do you want a car? Okay, well, one will sort of appear near you, but then you drive the car because you know how to drive. That probably, right? If you have a driver's license, and you can still take yourself from point A to point B, which I still think is very valuable. I like driving. Well, I don't like driving in a lot of traffic, but I like driving in the sense that I like being in control of things. I don't always like to be in the back of, an Uber or a Lyft. It's nice in the sense that, yeah, sure, maybe you can get some work done or kind of check out or whatever, but I don't always like to do that. And like you said, Scott, you got someone else in the car and it's sort of this whole thing. Yeah. Well, okay. If a car is driving you, and it's smart and knows where you're going and you're not going to get into any accidents, okay, you're still alone, but you're kind of still being in the back seat. I think that there is a need, at least in this sort of bridge area of us all getting used to our new reality of cars being on demand, that are driverless, that then you drive. I don't want someone sitting in the front making sure that it's all safe. Like, I don't need you. I'll just drive.
Yeah, I am not actually looking forward to the extra dude in the car.
Right.
That part's weird, and I'm not into that. I like a guy who drives, that's fine.
Might be a woman.
Driver, that's fine. But I don't want a guy just sitting there with a clipboard going, okay, everything looks like it. That's weird. I don't want that. Unless it was Tom. He's a nice guy who's currently frozen and not moving.
No, I'm fine.
Oh, okay. You look frozen.
Tom's just shocked and appalled.
I'm fine.
No,
I'm good. I'm looking at the red light that Roger's flashing at us. That's all.
Oh, all right. Well, good.
Well, speaking of red lights, you know who never provides a red light for me in the morning when I'm looking at the tech stories of the day? Everyone in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on others at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and on facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow.
Do that and also email us, and then we'll pull your message out of the mailbag, maybe.
Correct. We actually will. And today we got an email from Clive, which we'll read now. Clive says, regarding Epic's Game Store, we talked about this on the show yesterday. Good comments on the impact of the PC gaming. There's going to be an Android and other open environment store as well. If this works the same as Steam on PC and Linux, you may be able to pay for a game on one platform and then have it available on all of them. This could be big if it saves. This could be big if saves are cross-platform as well.
A lot of dreaming going on there, Clive, but I like the way you think. I would love that. Scott, how likely is that, do you think?
I think it's not likely to happen early. I think that it could over time, though. I mean, the reason this is probably coming up for Clive, and the reason I think it's probably suitable to talk about here, is because their Epic is known for having a really forward-thinking sort of methodology to pushing Fortnite out to multiple platforms. And they want that kind of cross-save stuff. They want phone, console, computer. It doesn't matter where you're at. All that stuff's jiving together. Same account all over. So it's a nice idea to think they could get there. Steam has, cloud sharing or cloud saves rather now. I'm sure that this will launch with something similar to that. But over time, maybe they can push for that. But I don't think it's likely right off the bat. There's too much involved with developers and publishers and them all having separate ideas about what they want to do. And it's not going to be that easy. At first, they're going to have to just be a store and provide the basics, an equivalent Steam experience, and that'll get them started.
Well, thanks for the email, Clive. It's always good to get the juices flowing on what might be possible and what might not be. And also thanks to Scott Johnson for being with us this blustery Wednesday. Besides staying warm, what's been going on with you the last week?
Well, I am staying warm. Speaking of video games, Patrick Beja and I, who was also on DTNS on Tuesdays, he and I sat down and recorded the monthly video game briefing show, or MVGB show, which you can find over at frogpants.com/MVGB or other places on the DTNS site. There's lots of places you can find it. You can subscribe to it anywhere. And we talked this week about not just what's happening for the holidays in the terms of video games and deals and that sort of thing, but specifically what kind of stuff should parents be looking for, what casual gamers should be looking for, and what existing gamers should be looking for before the year is out. And we had a great time talking about all of that. We know what platforms are going to work the best for you, I think, this time of year more than we ever have. So go check it out. Subscribe to the show. Let us know what you think. Oh, and you can find me on Twitter at Scott Johnson.
Thank you, folks. Go subscribe. And if you are someone who wants a little more out of the show, you can get it. A lot of you already know this by becoming a member at patreon.com/DTNS. There'll be a fresh new column from Roger Chang coming at you tomorrow. If you're at the associate producer level, I also do a regular update called the Editor's Desk, where I just kind of spend 10-20 minutes going into depth on how it is that we cover tech news and my thinking behind it. That's all available if you're a patron at patreon.com/DTNS.
We love your feedback as well. You make our show better. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is where you can send those emails. We're also live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. And you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Great show. What do we call it?
Daily Tech News Show.
We don't call it late
it.
for dinner.
Oh.
Sorry. That's another one of those things where I'm like, what does that mean?
I know. Don't
I
like
don't know. I know what it means, but where did it come from?
Right. Was it just some dad joke at one point that somebody said and it happened to catch on for some
Right.
reason?
Basically.
Oh,
I
you
don't
know what? In that, well, okay, let's think about the title first before I get into my all the sayings. I don't get shoe buttons.
You can call me Al.
You can call me Betty.
There's got to be a joke there where it's like you can call me Al, but it's actually spelled AI.
I like this one, but I think we've used it before. Waymo cars, Waymo problems.
That does sound familiar, doesn't it?
Pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Alice in the Motherland.
Is it the motherland? Yeah, I guess that's right.
Yeah, so someone it is.
Germany's the fatherland.
Yeah.
Call it that.
Der Vaterland.
Yeah, der Vaterlander.
And America is apple pie.
Homeland.
Even though it's from like
We're the homeland.
We're the homeland? Really?
Yeah, Homeland Security.
Oh,
A whole department named after it.
what if we changed it to homeroom? I think it would be a little less ominous. Report to homeroom.
Homeroom Security.
Hey, that would be great.
The Department of Homeroom Security has foiled a terrorist attempt.
we are the home of the land and the free of the brave.
Yeah.
The brave of the free.
we're the home of the land and we're free of braves.
Yeah, unless you live in Atlanta and then they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Get out of
Oh,
my
the
dreams.
tomahawk
Get into my,
chop. One
get out of my
least
dreams. Get
favorite
into my
things.
self-driving car.
It's not bad. It's
Done.
long.
You definitely used that before.
Oh, we have.
Yeah.
Driverless cars for the-
Just for a future note, all Billy Ocean references have been used.
Are they? Have they?
I'm pretty
When
sure.
going gets tough.
What was our Caribbean Queen reference?
I know.
I think that goes back to the Buzz Out Loud days, but there was one.
Uh-huh. Well, fair and just.
Driverless cars for the misanthrope passenger.
Sure.
Well, I liked
Yeah.
what you said in Slack earlier, Roger. What was it about Waymo robotic cars?
Waymo taxi. Waymo Robo-Cabs.
Waymo Robo-Cabs, yeah.
Not bad.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Done. We'll make it.
Done. Oh,
I mean,
that
it's
was
already actually in the.
that was what I was thinking of earlier in the show. I didn't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but where did eggs
When did come from animals?
when did we put eggs in baskets so much that we were like, well, don't put them all in one?
Put all your eggs in one basket. Where does that come from?
Yeah,
It's
like
because-
I understand what that means, but where did it come from?
I'm sure there's an origin thing. for
I'm
that.
sure that at one point some Einstein thought they could carry a lot of eggs with a very big basket, and then had an accident, crushed them
Why-
all, and
why
decided to put them in
baskets?
separate little baskets.
Well, it's an idiom. Let's see. There
Well,
is.
I mean, you certainly, back in the day when you'd go to market to buy the eggs, you would have bring a basket to carry things in.
Pre grocery bag
Yeah,
days.
I'll
Yeah.
take a baker's dozen. You mean 13? Sure. Or 14.
Yeah, that always bothered me too.
Hey, this says there's some stuff here. It says there is some controversy over the origin of the phrase "Don't put all your eggs in one basket." The expression is most commonly attributed to Miguel Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote in 1605.
Whoa.
But then it goes on to say there's other people who claim it, and yeah, so there's a messy. There's a
Can
messy.
you imagine claiming that? You know what? No. I coined that term.
In all of our investigations of phrases and words, the one theme that unites them all is there is some controversy about the origin of this. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of consensus.
Mm-mm. I'm with you there.
Good sense.
Consensus.
All right, let me move over to this episode. Oh, I got to create a new one for tomorrow.
Yeah, you do.
Duplicato.
I'm trying to think if there's an eggs in one basket reference for any other type of food. Not with baskets, but just
because most food isn't as breakable, right?
Don't carry all your ribs in one carcass.
Because you're not going to break your ribs.
Oh, I would
Well, you
disagree,
might.
Tom.
Don't carry all your ribs in one carcass.
right.
All right.
Don't go on a jog with only your ribs.
So,
Yeah.
so the potential would be anything breakable. What else besides eggs is like
Ooh,
super
there's
fragile?
got to be something.
That's a
'Cause
good
bread is crushable, but it's not necessarily breakable.
Hmm.
right.
Well,
So
there's
carrying all
stuff
your
like
bread in one
tomatoes.
basket.
They're squishable. Great.
Yeah, kind of squishy. Yeah. Don't carry all your tomatoes in one basket.
But
But
nobody
again,
says that.
you kind of have to really work at it to squish them. Whereas eggs, if you just drop the basket, you're going to break a bunch. I don't know if there's anything as fragile as eggs.
Maybe someone should develop a new high-tech 21st century basket.
Don't carry all your sugar art characters in one basket.
Oh, I got it. Roger, you're right. Don't keep all your files in one cloud service.
It's pretty good.
See? You can't just Dropbox.
Yeah.
You can't just do iCloud.
It translates very well.
It's very very well built.
Seamless, really.
Backups in case one of them goes away and you can't control it.
I mean, it's not in any way related to food or fragility, but it still works.
Well, fragility works kind of if you want to look at like, data, hard drives can break, EMP can blow.
Sure.
It has, I mean, if you're just trying to modernize it.
You're not going to drop your cloud storage and break it, but it still works.
Right. Somehow it still works.
Don't invest your money in one company.
The best. That's true. I'll bet you investors like investment.
Well, that's actually, I mean, people use the phrase "don't carry all your eggs in one basket" to describe that principle.
Right.
Like that is, in fact, a metaphor for the literal thing that you just said.
Right. That's a good point.
Well, there you have it. And that's the way it was.
But food-wise, I can't think of anything else.
No.
No.
Not anything common. Like
Right.
sugar characters are the closest thing I can come up with. Those are pretty. You see those at fairs.
Don't have all.
Everything.
I got it. Don't have all your Thanksgiving in one aunt's house.
That's not common.
Right? You want to spread it around with the rest of the
what?
family?
The turkey will break?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
get that one. That one's not working for me, Scott.
I don't know why that.
Does your aunt have a fragile hip? Is that what you're trying to say?
You leave your nice aunt alone.
She's hip. She's hip to be your aunt.
Yeah. Don't flush all your toilets in one pull. No.
Don't shed all your tears on Argentina.
There you go. Don't cry for
Wise
Argentina.
words.
I think it's significant that we drift farther and farther away from food with every attempt.
I don't think so.
No, the point was, is there any other food like that? And we are drifting farther and farther. So therefore,
People in glass houses should not throw eggs.
Oh, I got it. Don't keep. I was watching baking shows with Kim, and it reminds me. So don't keep your sugar. No, wait. What's the don't keep your crystal sugar sculptures in one fridge.
so true.
I'm
So
trying
true.
to get
Yeah,
this.
Very common.
I think the eggs.
everyone
I think could be truer this holiday season.
I think eggs are just uniquely qualified because they cover the fragility and
Of
the-
life.
and all of that. That like they're perfectly suited, and that's why it's a thing.
Let me look up fragile foods.
Fragile foods on Yandex. What is our result?
Sounds like a very upper class restaurant.
Yeah, welcome to Fragile Foods. May I take your order?
That's good. Yeah. Everything here is very precious.
Farm to table,
Mm-hmm.
gluten free.
I had eggs for breakfast.
Ooh, Protitude has one. Don't keep all your crunchy tacos in one.
Oh, in one one though.
In one box. When
Or
you
even
go-
just shells. Yeah.
They're not gonna break.
That's not
taco
bad.
shells. Very
I
breakable.
mean, if you had, rocks on top of them,
the
maybe it would
crispy
break.
taco shells.
Wait a minute. I love the idea of somebody keeping rocks on their. I gotta keep these tacos safe. What are you gonna do?
They're not gonna fall out of this basket.
when would the shells break? Like,
When you drop the basket, same as the eggs.
Oh yeah, good
I
point.
don't know, guys. Because the crispy, the shells sort of, you kind of stack them, and there's strength in numbers.
Have you bought them recently? Because I feel like there's always a broken one in every box.
Oh yeah, always.
Actually, I don't buy them for this very reason. So, all
Mhm.
right, fine.
Here's the other part that they don't tell you about. How many actual egg collectors go into the egg place where the chickens are? What's that called? The coop, and have like more than one basket with them. That's dumb. You also the whole thing's missing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Also hire 3 additional people to carry a basket each, and don't walk with them just in case the accident that happens takes you both out. So like there's a lot more complication to making sure your eggs are good.
Okay, hold on.
The whole thing is a mess.
It is. It's a giant mess, Sarah. Huge mess.
My sister keeps chickens and collects eggs. I'm asking her right now.
Okay.
I actually, the first time, this is a personal story. The first time I ever heard that reference, I was in college, and there was some guy that I liked, and he didn't really like me back in the same way. And he said to me, because he was trying to basically sort of like push me out back into the world, he was like, just don't put all your eggs in one basket, And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And and then I probably asked somebody, and they were like, well, what he meant was don't count on me to be around in a week type thing. But but like I was like, interesting reference. I don't like that you said that to me, but I kind of respect it.
Yeah, it's a weird usage case.
Yeah.
It's just him having a little excuse there.
All right. I've got 3 dots from my sister.
Okay.
Who is in fact going to respond. She may respond by saying, Tom, leave me alone. I'm working.
Right. Like,
I have a real job. Leave me alone.
She is the county clerk of Bond County, duly elected in the most recent election. Congratulations, Meg.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Ooh, she says, only one. I like to live on the edge.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
A one basket gal.
So there you go, Scott. There's your answer.
Yeah, she's an actual egg collecting chicken owner.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got like a card carrying member, an egg carrying chicken owner.
I mean, that's legit. I'm going to take her opinion. I mean, because that could be a whole other phrase. Don't live life like every egg's going to break. Like
don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah, because they're
that's very different. Very different.
It's chasing rainbows, not waterfalls.
Isn't it? Wait, chasing? No, don't go.
He's thinking about the TLC song. Very different.
Yeah,
that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah,
which is another thing.
Which is probably
worms. Where are those?
I think this is we should probably continue this on the audio.
Yeah, we're not saying any of you are scrubs. You will always get love from us, but we are going to end the video and move on to the audio only portion of the show.
Please,
so those folks,
please God.